We're here in Pittsburgh, PA, the home of the NPC at the Masters and Teen Nationals. We're live with Chris Aceto.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
We're here in Pittsburgh, PA, in the Sheridan Station Hotel conference room. I'm here with Chris Aceto, the technician, and it is the Masters Teen Collegiate Nationals that have just let out, at least for the men. And your son is the new teen national champion, not only in bodybuilding, but in classic, too.
Yeah, he signed a Reebok.
He's eclipsed you already.
Yeah, he's eclipsed me. He got a Reebok contract today. And I wanted him to be the Cooper Flag of bodybuilding for teens in Maine.
If only he can make the money of Cooper Flag.
Well, Cooper's only 18. He's a year older than Cooper.
That's true. That's true.
So
yeah.
I told Fareed, I said we should go up to Cooper's holding a clinic in Maine in 3 weeks.
Right.
Basketball clinic for kids.
Maybe
I said we should go up and take a picture of him.
Maybe Cooper can hook him up with Nike or something like that.
Give him a Species T-shirt.
There you go. That's pretty fun. Now, I got to tell you, your son is very dedicated because it's the day after the show and he's already in the gym here in the hotel working out, getting ready for the Ben Weider Cup, right?
Yes.
2 weeks?
Ben Weider Cup is actually they changed the name. Ben Weider Cup is now in DC. So there's some natural men's show in, I don't even know the name of it.
Is it in Canada?
It's in Toronto. So that is 2 weeks from tomorrow.
And that's a pro qualifier?
Pro qualifier for a natural division.
Oh my God. If he turns pro, you'll never be able to live with him.
I can't even believe that we're at a bodybuilding show and he's doing protein and chicken breasts and all that. It still boggles my mind.
He's only been doing this a year and a half, too. It's crazy.
I told Jay Emanuel when we did an interview with him yesterday, I said I always tell Dave, okay, I think this might be the last year I want to coach. And when we competed last year, you said, that's it, Chris, you're going to be coaching again for another 5 years.
Oh, now forget 5 years. You're in it for life now with him. Huge changes from last year. A lot of quality improvements. He was, what was he, second year last year?
Second last year. He was 180 last year, and he was 179 this year.
So he was a little leaner, almost.
So, yeah.
And
1 pound difference.
Was he happy with his look? Not
fully. He feels like he can be tighter, which everyone can be tighter. But I mean, it's hard to, how tight can you be when you're 18 and 19?
Right.
You can't get like 25-year-old bodybuilder, open bodybuilder looking condition. And last year he did the Ben Weider, and I dieted him like so hard, and he had crazy glutes and hams, but he was stringy, and he ended up, it looked great on a back double bicep in the hotel room, but in terms of just the pec fullness or the front double, the taper, kind of burned through a lot of that.
I mean, Cody Montgomery is the GOAT of the teen nationals, right? He won 3 times, 3 years in a row. Fareed won. I think he's the first classic and teen winner, right?
Yeah, I don't think they've. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if the kid last year who won it. I don't think he did both divisions. He probably would have won both divisions.
No, but if Fareed goes and actually gets his pro card at the show in 2 weeks, that would certainly be a record that eclipsed even Cody Montgomery. Yeah, Cody took a whole year before he won the USA, right?
Yeah, Cody. I coached Cody for the USA.
I know you did.
I coached him from like 2 days after the Team USA. I didn't even know who he was, and I couldn't believe the level of muscle. Talk about outliers. He had. Here I am saying teenagers can't get a level of conditioning when he was a teenager, he had crazy condition.
Yeah.
And then from 19 to 20, he just put on like 10 pounds of muscle and won the USA his first time out at 20 years old.
I noticed even the Brazilians who don't like you even posted up a congratulations.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that, yeah. Yeah, I think I posted on one of their things. I said,
yeah.
I just, come on. This kid trains with Derek Lunsford and Matt Grego and Jose Raymond and Guy Sistanino. He's got to be taking a little bit of mint julep. That's anabolics for.
They write Brazil Bodybuilding News writes, "Do you have a future? We haven't seen Chris Aceto so happy. Ha ha! His son was the teen classic physique champion of an amateur show in the United States and made his dad proud." So,
yeah.
What will the future be? So, will he stay in classic or will he do bodybuilding? You think down the road?
I don't know. I haven't discussed it with him.
It's an interesting conundrum. He has probably, I guess, classic initially.
Yeah, he likes he really likes classic, and I mean, just like a lot of people coming into the sport, and that's what's great about the classic division is
it's a nice intro. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's easier to pick like a classic. It's like I can attain that than like Ramy, right?
Right, but as he grows, he's only 19 years old. He's going to say,
yeah,
I can do the elephant now.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started working out, I wanted to look like Stallone and Rambo, and then I thought Arnold was too big. And then as I got bigger, I'm like, I like to look like Arnold now, so, or Haney,
So Lee Haney actually posted on RX Muscle a nice compliment.
Oh, did he?
Creed, which is
what's going on with Lee Haney with the starting his own organization?
Is he starting?
He did, yeah. I don't know why he would bite the hand that fed him for so many years. I mean, Jim Mannion and him were so tight. He was so disrespectful to Jim Mannion, doesn't it?
Well, it's surprising. I mean, I didn't know he's.
Yeah, I guess him. I don't know what.
Yeah, that's why I don't know what to say.
Well, I think Lee was very, was weird with the teen stuff, and he was like saying how bodybuilding going in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, the sport is growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, I legitimately saw a number 820. Yeah, there was that many people, and then with crossovers, this show probably was at 1,500 people. 1,500 entries.
I mean, extremely well attended show.
That seems like the sport's growing to me.
And well run because meaning the show is multiple days. They have to run it exactly on time because if they're a half hour or 45 minutes late for one division, we'd be here at 3 a.m.
I have to admit, I wanted to see your son so bad. I show up. The prejudging started.
So you missed it
at 8. They say 8 o'clock. So I got there. I looked at my watch. It was 8:03, and I missed his son already. That's how on time they started this thing.
Well, for people who missed it, we almost missed it. The prejudging for the team.
What happened to you?
The prejudging at the team started at 8 o'clock, and we tanned at 4. And I went down to tanning with my son, and I was so tired. I said, I have to sleep. And he said, before show you can't sleep.
Well, you can't sleep, especially when you're
coaching. For sure. He said, I will be awake for sure. And he woke up in a panic at 7:20.
Oh my God!
And said the prejudging's going to start in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And he didn't eat. We just ran down, put on the last coat of tan, whatever they do, and roll up, and he ran on stage.
That's his progression.
Can you imagine if we had missed it?
Oh, you and I would have probably wanted to drop out of the show if we woke up that late.
The Brazilians would have gone nuts on me. They'd say he can't even get his own son to the show at 8 a.m.
Well, one of my clients who actually got a pro card missed the overall because he went backstage to wipe his head down or something like that, and he missed the actual overall. Thank God he got a pro card and for winning his class. So you got to. I tell people all the time, and they warn you backstage. First of all, Jim's got the best expediters here. Gary's crew is unbelievable, and they tell you don't leave backstage. Especially after you win your class, because the overall happens super quickly.
And he left,
and he didn't listen, and that's what happens.
Hey, there's so many. I'm tired, and there's so many things flying through my mind. I want to talk. Don't forget. Let's talk now about your client who, besides he won the show,
John.
What was the first thing I said when I saw him?
What did you say?
The color. I said, who?
What
did you use for color?
John has the best color.
I said, that's the best color I've ever seen. And the first thing out of his mouth was, I tan.
Yeah, he tans.
And Dave always harps on, you have to tan before you put the color on. His tan was beyond perfect. Right?
Yeah, no, he's look, there's no reason why you shouldn't lay in a tanning bed leading up to the show. I mean, you'd have to be a nutcase not to tan. And a lot of people who do it, I don't know why. Why be so lazy? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. And but people do it all the time. But when you have a good base tan and then you get tanned on top of that, it looks that much better. And it's just the way it is. Let's pull up this picture again. So that's John right there in the middle with Jim Mannion and his wife and Kenny Wallach. And you can see how dark he is. Now, John's been, John and I have been friends for quite a number of years. I've been working with him for quite a long time. And he's been knocking on that door, second place, third place, and it sucks because, you want to win. You want to get the pro card. So he came in here, he was like, I'm going to get it this year. I said, I think this is your time. We brought him in like super slice. He did the 50 and over. He just turned 50. And he did 40 and over. And he did 35 and over. And after prejudging, it looked pretty much that he was going to win all three.
Well, when you guys came to our room, I told Fareed, I said, he's going to win for sure. And he asked, how do you know? And I said, because you can tell on a T-shirt. He was like, the T-shirt was cut here and his pecs were blasting full.
Yeah.
And his face was like sucked enough, not too sucked. You know what I mean? Yeah. He looked like full and hard.
Yeah. And now, when John and I were out in California at the Masters USA at the end of last year, I said to all the guys backstage, it was a very small, intimate group of guys competing. I said, listen, if anyone wins one class, I want you guys dropping out and letting these other guys get a pro card because it's stupid. If you don't drop out, you're going to take 2 pro cards, and you don't need 2 pro cards. You only need 1 pro card. And, John agreed that that was the right thing to do. An incident like that didn't happen at that show. But when we got here after preaching, I said to John, listen, it's your decision to make. I said, you can do whatever you want. I said, but at the end of the day, if you win the 50 and over and you get your pro card, there's really no reason to do 40 and over and win a pro card again and then another pro card in 35 and over, even though I know you're going to win. And he thought about it. And, a lot of people told him, no, you paid for it, get those, that you deserved it. You get those overalls. And he didn't listen. He made his own decision. And I got off stage to go congratulate him backstage. He goes, Dave, I dropped out of the other division. Yeah. I said, that was the right move. That was a classy move.
They should buy him dinner.
These guys were crying. They were crying, these guys. They were so happy because they thought there's no way I'm getting a pro card. And then John dropped out, and then they would, because if he didn't drop out, they wouldn't go to the next person.
That's right.
They
wouldn't go to the next person.
And I'll tell you why. I was talking to some of the expediters backstage because I said, why won't they just give the next guy in line? Because this is what happens. These guys say, well, okay, you want to give them my placing? Then I want a refund on my application fee. And in other words, the guys who are giving up.
He should have gone to the guy who said, I'm thinking of dropping out. If you
should tell me
$3,000, I'll drop out. Or at least my hotel.
We know people.
If I was second, going to be second, but first if he dropped out and someone
we know people that would do that though.
We know pay for my hotel. I would say I'll pay a hotel. I'll pay for your flight, and I'll pay for your.
That's not John. If you know John Frashoni is a class act, and so even Jim Mannion said shook his hand and said that was a real class act, and everyone's now coming up to him, and I'm glad he did that because it always takes one person to do the right thing, and then you know what? It'll create a chain reaction, and other people will start doing that too. Because on After Hours this past week, I was talking with Romano and the crew, and I showed this girl who was bragging about how she won 3 pro cards at the Universe, and she's like, I got three, and she's bragging about it, and she had a really good physique.
Yeah.
And I said, how selfish is that?
Yeah.
She took 2 pro cards away from someone, and I said, I hope that never happens again. I said, it's a shame that this is the rule.
Why don't they just pull them out?
Because
they used to do that at one time.
Right, but here's the problem. Because when the competitors got pulled out, they said, okay, give me my money back there.
Okay.
So it's not right. It has to be an individual decision. And I think that there's enough bodybuilders out there who have tried and have been competing long enough and hard enough that this should resonate within them. Hey, you know what? I got to give something back to the sport. I got my pro card. It took me a long time. Yes, I spent a lot on application fees, but so what? Now I'm going to give this gift. I'm going to pay it forward to the other people because you know what? Someday maybe I'll want someone to do something nice to me. And so he did a great deed. And I think that just shows his character, his true character. So John, I take my hat off to you. John and his wife, by the way, will be back here in August with me. They're going to be doing the pro division. Gary has the Pro World Championships in held association with the North American Championships. I got to say, I've been coming to the show now for the last 2 years, and after having, I used to come all the time. I love this show, and I'm sure you're probably experiencing it too, the camaraderie, right? And all the people here that you probably know for 25, 30 years,
Well, my son commented on the camaraderie with the Masters competitors backstage. He said
never seen anything like it, right? At a bodybuilding show.
He said it's like the Elks Club goes. He said it's like the Elks Club. I don't even know how he knows what the Elks Club is. He says like the Elks Club.
He's wise beyond his words.
Show.
Yeah, he's wise beyond his years, your son. I think he's an old soul. That's what it is. But yeah, I've run into people, and everyone seems to know everyone. It's funny because my friend Bill Leonello, who plays fourth in the 70 and over category, he, I used to train at his gym in the 90s. He knows John's father, my friend John's father from back in the day. Like it's like everyone knows everyone, and it's.
I met somebody who was in the over 70 division. He said, "Can we take a picture?" And I said, "Of course." He said, "Can you take a picture with my son? He's in the Masters over 35."
Oh, I saw that guy. I was talking to him. The son and the father are competing. Yeah. They own a gym in Alabama. He was telling me about.
I told Freed I'll do the over 60 next year if I don't have to train.
I was gonna say you can't. I can't even get you to go to the gym. Much less everything else.
I'll hire Kenny on the posing.
Kenny Wallach. Let's give Bill a little plug since I'm going to the airport. Bill, that's Bill. 70 years young. He had a defibrillator put in his chest a couple years ago. He had a bunch of heart problems, and he's on stage. These guys are unbelievable with the dedication to the cause. He's been. I yelled at him. I said, "Bill, you've been competing for 50 years now." I said, "You still don't know the 8 mandatory poses. They're the same poses that they were 50 years ago." He goes, "I'm old. I forgot them." He goes, "I gotta relearn them." So I thought that was pretty funny. But look, it was a great. I love coming to the show, and I said, I wish I was staying here all weekend. We're leaving today. And
I was surprised you were leaving today.
Yeah, you know what? Because I have to. I'm getting my kids on vacation this Monday. I need a few days to catch up. We also have to congratulate our very own John Hansen, who at 62 years young, somehow got his pro card here. Yeah. Incredible, right? He even told me, he's like, Dave, I had no intention of ever, competing again until last year.
He going to compete at Gary's show in August?
Of course he will, probably. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be this year.
I had no intention, but since I got the card, I'll see you in August.
John Hansen is like Lou Ferrigno. He lives the bodybuilding lifestyle every single day. He still eats his tuna and rice, his chicken and rice. He told me 6 meals a day. He goes to the gym. It's 5 days a week. He does his cardio. He didn't tell me this, but I know he probably practices his posing probably an hour every day. Oh, yeah. He does his vacuum poses and all that stuff. He loves bodybuilding, and you can hear it when we get him on the TV show. And he gives his analysis.
We all love bodybuilding, but when you come to this show and you see people over 70, a stacked class in the over 70,
there was like 15 guys in the over 70.
It's unbelievable because those are the people who truly love bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And that's why, Freed made that comment about like the Elks Club. It was a compliment in that the people in the over 50, over 60 and over 70 division, it's just, they love the sport. And some of the physiques in the over 60 and 70 were pretty amazing, especially over 60. There were a couple guys in the over 60 that, the skin texture looked like they were like 40.
The 70-year-old winner, who I interviewed, you'll see in an interview this week, he didn't have one loose piece of skin. You remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
He was unbelievable, this guy. And a matter of fact, when we were talking about him, his coach was sitting behind us, Chris Darby, and Chris told him what we said about how we were complimentary.
Yeah.
And then Chris...
He texted me that.
Yeah.
That's how loud we are. He said, you guys talk awfully loud. He said...
Which is not good.
Sometimes
we're not always complimentary.
He sent me a message, and I said, "Oh no, what did I say?" And he said, "You were talking really, highly of the guy who I prepped for the over 70."
When we talk badly about people, we whisper to each other.
Okay, so what happened in that division is when they came out, like he was like, my eyes went right to him.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what division I was watching, and I said, "These guys look like."
You did they were 50s.
I had a negative slant because I was thinking they look terrible because I thought it was like watching the over 45 class because I was looking at him.
I know. It's funny.
And then you told me this is the over 70. Honest to goodness, I didn't know there was an over 70 class until coming to the show and sitting down and watching it.
When I first started coming to the show, there was one person in the 70 and over. If you were lucky, and I think now he's like a 90-year-old guy, but now the 70 is competitive.
They're gonna have to institute like how people, they used to have in the nationals, like you didn't make the cut.
Now, well, you know what they
So you
used
got
to when the 60s and 70s used to come in, they used to play the Rocky music here, and they stopped doing it. I got to get them to start doing it next year because it was amazing. People loved it when they would come out. The Rocky music would play. Another person who you would think that run into everyone at these shows. Who do you think else had to be? Chris Cormier, of course, because I run into him everywhere. The real deal somehow became your son's posing coach.
Yes,
How did that happen?
Posing coach. I don't know. They met along the way, and so they always do at home. When I know Freed like scuttles off somewhere, it's Cormier calling.
Look at that leg.
To do a FaceTime posing, coaching session.
Chris
for
was
the mandatory.
Chris was your son's biggest. He was screaming.
Yeah, and so we got Chris a nice cake after the show. We all ate it backstage.
I hear Fareed's going to go live with Chris now for a couple months.
Yeah, well, I think if Freed
Train with
didn't
him?
win, he was going to go live with Chris. But since he won,
I see Jay Cutler's congratulating your son.
Oh, yeah, that's
in
nice.
the
Thank you,
comments
Jay.
there. Desktop bodybuilding. Xavier Wills giving a nice
Cormier wants
congrats.
him to fly out there for between the show and next show. He said, "Have him come out here."
I'm surprised he's not. That's what I'm saying. Didn't Ali Bilal offer to bring him out to Bali?
Ali Bilal said, "Come out to Bali and train with me in August."
Now Ali Bilal is in Bali. There's no.
He's in Bali.
It's
Ali
kind of
Bilal
like
is in Bali. Yeah.
You think he's doing that purposely just because
I wonder if it's crossed his mind.
Now, how did he pick Bali of all places?
Well, he wanted a place where he could sequester himself.
Right.
And there's a place there, I guess, with there's a couple incredible gyms out there.
Oh.
It's sunny all the time, beaches.
Right.
It's inexpensive. Everything's where he is like first class. So
He must have found someone who loves it there. Who's treating him, giving him the
I
the
think
VIP
he's got a
treatment.
sponsor who taking care of it all.
Oh, he
there,
is?
But
Okay.
he really enjoys it out there. But he was serious. He told Freed, "Come on out and train with me for a couple weeks."
He
He
should.
said, "Fly out tomorrow from Pittsburgh." That's
I would
how
go
demanding he is, right?
I would
Good.
go there in 2 seconds. Yeah. Now, I also ran into a legend. Well, first of all, so Chris tells me the story. Chris likes to go out to nice dinners. So I guess he wanted to go to the Capitol Grill, which is Jim Mannion's. He owns that place essentially. He comes there, and everyone knows him there. And so Chris calls up, and he's like, "Yeah, I need a reservation." They're like, "Well, we're closing in 20 minutes." He's like, "I'm coming with Jim Mannion." They're like, "Oh, come on down." So Chris gets to the restaurant supposedly, and they're like, "Where's Mr. Mannion?" And they're like, "He's like, oh, he's not coming." And they're like, everyone they're all dejected. They all walk away because I guess when Jim comes, everyone gets tipped really nicely. And Cormier just like, "I have no cash. I only have a credit card." So, but Chris is always great to run into, and we always have a great time with him. So I can't wait to see him at the Olympia and do some of the wrap-ups with him. He's got some great insights. And Chris, it's funny because a lot of the guys have lost their mind lately. I mean, Milos, I think is, while I love Milos as a person, he's been in a very naggy, complaining mood lately. You notice that he complains about everything in a negative way.
Yeah, well, I've heard that he's been doing some podcasts, wanting to reinstitute the
He's insane about the symmetry round.
Symmetry round.
But they judge the symmetry round. Doesn't Milos understand that when they get those guys up there and they do quarter turns, that they're judging the symmetry round? Why does it have to be in a box score?
Well, I think you can see Keon's symmetry in the front double and the back lat spread.
But you don't have to score it in a separate little score. Because the problem when you do that mathematically is that you don't get the right outcome.
Well, we already have the Olympia it's 3 shows in one. It is the prejudging,
right?
And then if it's close, it's almost like we throw all the scores out
and we start again.
And we start again for the night show. Right. So there's 2 shows in one, and they're 2 different days. So it's hard to peak and hold that peak. And people look better on day 1 or worse on day 2. And then if it's still close, they bring sometimes indecisive on okay, we want to get it right. Mm. So there's 3 times they're judging. When you throw in, I think, a whole nother round, then you say what are we weighing? Are we weighing how much would the symmetry count? It can't necessarily be equal to the muscularity round. Because then, like, how do you tabulate and figure who is the actual best bodybuilder on stage?
Right.
And then you get like people, not that it matters, but you'll get voices saying like, look, it's stand and relax. This guy's the best in the quarter turn.
Right.
He's the best. Yes, he's the best in the stand and relax, best in the quarter turn, but he gets smoked in the
Right.
front double, the most muscular, the absent dies.
Perfect example when Cedric went up against Kai at the Arnold. Remember, they wanted to start. Arnold wanted them to judge the posing round.
Yeah.
And they had to make number scores. And when they add up number scores, guess who loses? Cedric, because Kai wins the posing routine by a point, and he really wasn't the best bodybuilder on that day. So I think the mistake is if you start scoring things and giving values to things and take away the judge's ability to say, hey, who's the best guy up there, you ruin the integrity of the judging.
Well, that's I mean,
and I think that's why Jim Manny doesn't want to put that back in.
That is the best point, is that Cedric won the show in what would be considered the bodybuilding part,
right?
And the posing part was weighed so heavily.
Yeah,
he lost that part. And when you did do all the math on a math tabulation, he wasn't the best bodybuilder.
No.
And if you asked anyone, because I remember Steve Weinberger saying in an interview with you, he went pose to pose. He gave every pose to Cedric. And if you looked at his scores, that's how it was reflected. But I think they weighed the posing that year actually even more than
30% or something like that, and that skewed the scores.
I think
it could happen with symmetry. If you have a certain amount of value, you put too much on that, and then all of a sudden the best bodybuilder doesn't win the show anymore.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you still, if you don't have that. If you're not judging the symmetry round specifically for symmetry, you don't have it, which we don't have anymore. We're still saying, okay, who is best?
But they're still doing quarter turn, so of course they're judging it.
Well, you see,
why do a quarter turn if you're not going to judge it?
At the end of the day, the Olympia comes down to who's the best bodybuilder on stage, and I think you can
all
see
around.
Yes, and who has the least amount of flaws against the guy he's standing next to.
Yeah.
And throwing something else into it, I think a whole nother round, we might get into like disgruntled athletes and disgruntled fans and even disgruntled judges on we didn't pick the right person.
Well, yeah,
I'll put it this way.
Right. If you have amazing symmetry, you can squeak by someone.
The years since the symmetry round has been removed, let's just say the last 5 years, I don't think there's been a lot of disagreement on who should have been first, second, third, fourth, fifth in the Olympia. I think it's pretty dead on. Or at the Arnold, first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
100%.
So the top five, or the classic Olympia, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So the end result seems like it is the
coming out
correct
right.
end result. Anytime you try to sometimes the devil's in the details. You want to improve on that, and you end up screwing it all up.
I'll give you an example. When I had to take a
that said, I would love to see. Ultimately, we want to see super crazy muscular guy with absolutely flawless symmetry.
Right. But I'll give you a good example. When I was in college, they had a writing test requirement. And you could either take writing 101 or you can test out of the thing. So every semester I would take the writing test to test out of it. I was a good writer. But they would, if you got a spelling mistake wrong or you made a grammatical mistake, like you didn't put a comma in the right place, if you made 3 mistakes, you failed the test. So it didn't matter what you wrote. So after doing 4 semesters in a row, 2 years, or 6 semesters in a row of failing the writing test, I had to take it in my senior year, writing 101, even though I was probably the best writer, in school. My father was a writer. And I said to the woman who would grade these things, I said, don't you like what I'm writing? She's like, you write the most entertaining
you get the commas and the semicolons wrong.
She said, we love reading your stuff. Everyone else's sucks. He said, but you're making a spelling mistake. You make a grammatical mistake. You can't make 3 mistakes. Yeah. I said, but what does that have to do with your ability to write? She's like, nothing, but that's the rule. That's the rule. So if you make a rule that, hey, the symmetry is 30% and this is 30% and this is 30%, you have a very good chance of getting the wrong winner because you're mathematically figuring it out. And I think that the judges should be given the ability to say, hey, that is the best guy, in my opinion. And when you do that, you get the right decisions.
It's the last 3 Mr. Olympias. It's changed hands from Sampson, Derek, Hadi. All of them are balanced and symmetrical.
Yeah.
I don't think any one of them can compare to Flex Wheeler in terms of symmetry.
No.
But when we were doing a wrap up, it never enters my mind. Well, I don't like the symmetry of
Right.
so and so. We're nitpicking on like, this guy in the back double was not sharp enough, or this guy in prejudgment was just not sharp enough, or he was too full, or something like that. We're not harping on like,
No.
well, the symmetry's off on the front double.
Nick Walker will never win the symmetry round, but that doesn't mean he shouldn't win the Olympia if he's the best guy on stage.
100% agree.
And I think that's
100% agree.
And he never would win the Olympia if you started scoring the symmetry round, because he would be 8th in symmetry,
Yes.
and it would ruin the fact that he actually could beat everyone else on everything else.
You know what? I would sit here right there, and if you said, Chris, what place did you have Nick in the symmetry? I would say I did not have him in the top 5.
Yeah.
And there's no way that I would be not talking about him having the ability to win the show.
Right.
So I'd be hamstrung by my lack of appreciation for his, quote, lack of symmetry.
Right. You could have guys that are out of shape who have better symmetry than him, right?
Yeah. So it'd work against him.
Right.
And it's not what I want to see as the end result, or the fans want to see, or the athletes want to see.
I'm glad they got rid of it. Look, I'm sad that they don't judge the posing round, because I like entertaining posing routines, but I understand why you can't, because then it becomes a America's Got Talent, contest.
I think when it comes to the posing round, I'd love to see better routines.
Offer more money for the posing.
Yeah, I think that might be a
best poser awards and stuff like that.
Top 3 routines.
Yeah,
or
offer an extra 10, 15, 20 grand. Maybe that would get people doing good.
To play devil's advocate, if you're getting ready for a show, it's just the way it is. There's so many moving factors. You just want to be like the biggest and the hardest that you can be, biggest and hardest that you can be, biggest and hardest. The last thing on the list is like my routine. Like, okay, I'll just.
But if you know you can do a good routine, and there's an incentive there. Once again, you always say money motivates these guys to do everything. Put $100 grand up for the best poser. Maybe you got guys spending more time.
Routines. It's nice to see a great routine, but I would never weigh it like the Arnold. They did that.
Can't do it.
That
you get the wrong outcome, and that's really. I mean, and this is a very important point, and that's why I think some of the people who do judge are frustrated with guys like MILOS and Sean Ray complaining about this, because they're never happy about anything. But at the end of the day, it's the most important thing. The most important thing is that they get the judging right. And you know what? If taking the symmetry round out and evaluating it as part of a whole, because it's a holistic, voting type of situation when you're evaluating in your head who's the best winner. If that's going to help it, and like you said, the last 10 years, I think we've gotten 99.9% of the best decisions, then it works. We don't need a scorecard, because a scorecard takes away the human factor of who's the best guy up there. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we need to beat it any more to death than that. But, we did run into a legend who I didn't even know, Chris, lives in Pittsburgh now. Tom Blatz.
I didn't know he lives in Pittsburgh.
Quadfather, yes. He told me he's been here for the last couple of years since COVID.
I would have liked to have met him here, because I trained with him when I was 20. My son turns 20 in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And I remember those leg sessions. Now, I made it through, and I survived. I told you my hips are killing me today.
Yeah, you did tell me that. Yeah.
It could be from
40 years ago. Yeah.
But the leg workouts were completely. People were fearful to do the leg workouts, and the back workouts, and the chest workouts, all of them.
Yeah.
But he was most known, of course, for the completely nutty leg workouts. And I said, I'll do it. And
little did you know what you were volunteering for, right? Exactly.
I told you we did leg extensions, and the leg extensions hit the whole entire machine would move across the gym floor.
We've seen those. Yeah, we've seen those videos where he's like,
because he'd do the stack, and he'd start with 40 reps, and I do 40 reps. I'm like, oh my god, I'm one set in.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm gonna die.
Yeah. That's
and I'm doing Dave. We'd go from extensions to hacks to different form of hacks to leg press, different form of leg press, this and that, and then he would go and eat like a chicken breast and 1 cup of rice.
Oh really? Oh my god. Well, what Tom told me when I was talking to him, so we were sitting next to each other for a couple hours, and I said, what's your training like? And he was like, I guess he was training with this girl who's sitting next to him. He's like, I train once a week because I'm too sore. I got to recover the rest of the week. I said, well, what bothers you? He goes, well, I got a bad hip, and he was limping a little bit, and he has really bad shoulders. I said, Tom, I told him about
the chins.
I told him I got my shoulders replaced. He said, it's like I have a new lease on life. I can throw overhand. I can train with free weights. He goes, you can? So I think I might have got his brain where I think he might go get his shoulders done because I said, Tom, because he said the same thing you and I said. He only likes to do free weights, but he's injured now, so he really can't do them. But he loves free weight movements, and he still does it.
Did you interview him? He's a great interviewer.
I should have interviewed him. I didn't want to bother him because he was kind of relaxing, watching the show, and he had a couple people he knew in the show.
It's got it's a little mix of Tom Platz, Tony Robbins, and like the Preacher.
Yeah. But,
he gets into every topic.
But you know what's good when I sit with Tom? It's like we have a different because he's not really preaching to me. Like if you get a bunch of young people around, he's giving a seminar. When I'm sitting with him, we're like kind of just talking about what we eat every day and how we train. And he still has the bodybuilding mentality. He's still the guy's legs are huge. He was wearing a pair of dress pants. The seams was splitting. If he would have dropped his pants, and I even said to him, I said, come on, drop your pants. I pulled a Lonnie keeper on him. Remember Lonnie used to say, let's see what you got. Let's see the legs. And he was almost ready. I said, Tom, you don't have to do it right now. But he was fine to do it. And because he had good legs. Those legs were huge still.
You know what?
And he just turned 70. Did you know
later in life, he started to look like, it continues to evolve to look like Robert Redford.
You're right. But you know what? He just turned 72. So there's a lot of guys just hitting that 70 mark that we know growing up. And I said to myself, holy shit, Chris and I are going to be 70 one day. And we're going to be that guy. I'm going to be like, I hope we both make it 70. But, it's just crazy. When I come to these shows.
Can you put in the press passes now with Tyler for the
70?
The over 70 division?
Yeah, if we're still alive, maybe we'll make a comeback at 70.
No, I said to cover the show.
Oh, to cover the
press
show.
passes.
Yeah. If we might not even remember that we still cover shows when we're 70 years. I hope I have my full faculties. That's my biggest fear, that you and I are going to be in a dementia ward somewhere together.
I will sacrifice my hips and shoulders.
I'm like, I know this guy. I don't remember what his name is, but I know we did something together earlier in life.
I won 7 Arnolds.
Yeah, 7 Arnolds.
Don't you remember me?
Yeah. A little camaraderie earlier before everyone got on stage here in the hotel room with John and Chris's son. For Reed, who's in the gym working out, or I would have pulled him right in here to say hello to everyone.
He just came back.
Oh, he did? Yeah. Maybe we'll wave him over here to say hi. But it's great the way they have this whole show set up too, because I like the fact that the men go on Thursday, or actually Wednesday, Thursday, and then the women go Friday, Saturday. So we're leaving today, which is great on Friday.
The best part of the show is that you take the elevator down and you walk 30 yards and you're at the show.
You're at the show, yeah.
And then if you want to eat regular food, of course, there's a restaurant.
Right.
But if you're competing, there's infinitesimal amount of anything that competitors need. Good food, chicken, rice, all that type of stuff. The true. Did your son bring his own food, or did you? He brought his own food, and we besides every single time you'd flush the toilet here, it would overflow.
Oh,
and
man.
We had 2 refrigerators. The original refrigerator.
I didn't have any toilet problems.
The original refrigerator didn't work, so all the food went bad.
Oh no!
So we had to buy this food, and then they gave us a replacement fridge, and that didn't work. And so finally, of course, I did a guy Sistino. I went down there and lost my mind.
Did they credit you at night?
No, they didn't. But they brought us a refrigerator that works.
The funny that you should have told my John Frashoni and his wife Sharon, they had enough food to feed the whole hotel. They're Italians, don't forget. Yeah. Italians always have extra food. They've been feeding me for the whole weekend, and they sent me home with food. That's how much food. You know how your grandmother used to pack you the little Tupperware container that they would save from the.
We'd go to the movies, and she used to pack Italian food. Yeah. When we'd go to the movies one day a month, it was $1, and my grandmother would pack
meatballs and spaghetti. Yeah. All the other kids had candy. You had meatballs and spaghetti, right?
We had Italian food in
sausages
in tinfoil.
Yeah, aluminum foil. Yeah. That's my grandmother would save the Tupperware, and she'd freeze the sauce in there that she would make. Yeah. It would be the whole freezer would be stacked with sauce. So I got all my food from John. Thank you very much, John, for feeding me this whole weekend. And let me give a shout out to all the winners of the Masters divisions. John Rivas won 35 and over. Bradley Campbell won the 40 and over. These guys all got their pro cards.
They all look great, by the way.
John Frashoni, my client, he got the 50 and over. John Hansen won the 60 and over, and Mark Demers and you'll see his interview I did with him. He won the 70 and over. That's who Chris and I were gushing about. I was surprised we didn't have any 80 and overs. Usually there's an 80-year-old, but there was no 80s at this show, and I thought it was great. The classic physique also, which also took place the same day as the bodybuilding, or the day before, I should say. Those guys were really, really good too. So it is. If you want to see all the results, npcnewsonline.com. They have all the results, pictures. They're also showing the live stream. So if you want to go back and watch the live stream, they have the whole live stream for free, which I thought was pretty cool. What they did. You know, when you do a big show like this, like Nationals, Masters Nationals, USA Championships, I think it's almost like, you know, you're making enough money on the application fees and the ticket sales. Offer the live stream for free so the people whose family is at home can watch the event. I know John was telling me his grandson, who's like 2 years old, was watching him. They had it on the big TV and was watching. He's like, "That's Papa up there," you know, competing, and that's cool. You know, you shouldn't have to pay for the amateur shows. I think.
Yeah,
I understand the pro shows is a money making thing, but for the amateur shows, I think it's great that Gary and Jim Mannion offer this stuff for free.
Especially with, like you said, with this. But I mean, not everyone can travel to see their grandfather.
No, it's a 4-day show too.
To compete at a bodybuilding show.
Yeah, but I thought it was terrific. I had a really good time this whole weekend, and like I said, I can't wait to come back for the North American Championships, which will be taking place at the end of August. If you guys haven't made your reservations, obviously there's a lot of pro cards up. I think that might be the biggest show because not only does Gary do and Jim do the men's open and women's open, obviously for all the divisions, but they also do the Masters, and then they do on Sunday a pro Masters Pro World Championships. Yeah. It's a 5-day show, so I think it starts Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I mean that's as far as I know, that's the biggest event of the entire year in any country or any place in the world.
Well, we used to kid when there were 2-day shows, and then you used to kid about the North America's being a 2-day show, and then with all the other divisions, we used to kid at some point it's going to be a 5-day show. It was complete like kidding.
Yeah, but
here we are.
It's worth it. You know what it is? When you split it up like that, it's much more palatable to watch the show, and it's more enjoyable because you're not spending 18 hours for the day. It's not ending 2 a.m. It actually ends at a normal time. You can actually go out and eat some dinner.
Yeah, it's great that.
Or you can hang out and have a few beers with Jose Raymond at the bar.
That was after he had a couple martinis with me last. I didn't have the martinis, but he went out to eat with us last night.
Yeah, I saw him. I said, Jose, haven't you been drinking at the restaurant with Chris? He goes, yeah. He goes, I got to have a few nightcaps.
I told Jose we have to go out to dinner because the first real workout that my son Freed ever had was with Jose.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know that.
And Jose texted me and said, "Wait, you see this? His lats are huge," and he had no lats.
Oh, after one workout.
Yeah, one workout. And
he's like, Blackman, feel my lats.
Yes, he did. He said, "Pop the lats." He said, "It's amazing. He can pop the lats," and they like pop out like this far. And Jose,
he was motivating.
He was motivating. He said, "Those lats, those are like wings,"
When he first did that first workout, did you ever in a million years imagine that he would be doing like team nationals, or much less winning the team nationals?
No, I'd take him to the shows, and he was just like lifting a little bit for football.
Right.
I remember when Matt Grego got into his head and said to him, like looked him in the eye and said, "When are you competing?" And he froze, well, maybe I should. Maybe
he must have been thinking about it in his head. Yeah.
And then Matt said, like, "No, you got to pick a show."
Like he never had a discussion with you like that. What do you think about me competing?
You got to pick a show.
Wow.
I told him you're picking a show, and just let me know when you're doing the show.
I love that. It's a great story.
And in fact, he went down to train with Matt Grego before the show.
Real jet setter, I noticed.
Yeah,
he went to Grego. Who else did he go to?
He trained with Guy
in Jersey, right? Didn't he stay with him a few days?
Yeah, he stayed a week with Guy. And then he stayed a week.
Did Guy give him chores to do for the house?
No, they hung out all night.
Oh, okay.
They watched movies on Netflix all night.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought maybe Guy had to give him some take the garbage out.
No, he wouldn't. Probably wouldn't let him.
That's true. He wouldn't do it right. He wouldn't do it right. Yeah, exactly.
So he trained with Guy for like a week, and then.
By the way, Guy gave me a great plug for Fiberlize. Thank you, Guy. I love you. He's been my biggest advocate of Fiberlize.
He told me about it from day one.
Yeah, he plugs.
And I'm so stubborn. It was like 6 years, and I said, "No, I don't need a guy."
He makes other people get it though, which is great. I mean, I don't pay him anything. It's a friendship thing, so it's really good.
So then Freed went down and trained with Grego for a week, and that 2 weeks is like leaned him down because the training went up.
I always
another notch.
felt when I would go someplace else, like to train with
I
someone
know
else,
exactly what you said. You make a lot of
you're so much stricter
Yeah.
because it's like you want to impress the person. Like
Yeah.
you won't eat a morsel
Yeah.
more than you do. Everything's weighed out because it's like you're under the microscope. Other
Yeah, of
people are
course.
watching you now.
Yeah.
So now you got to be 100%.
And you're posing for them, and they're saying you look good. They're not saying like you look great. You know what I mean? They're like,
Yeah.
you could be leaner. Both of them, you could be leaner.
I remember when I went down to Levroni's house in 1996, and I was helping him for the Arnold, and he's like, and I was off season. He's like, "You hungry?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "So I got to eat." So he made me a meal. I probably could have eaten double what he made me, but if he's gonna eat that, I'm gonna eat that too.
What was it? Fish and
it was like
salad?
fish and vegetables and like a little scoop of rice. It was like a tiny bit because I told him he could have some carbs, and it was like a tablespoon of rice. I said, "Can I get one more tablespoon of that?" He's like, "Yeah." So, but yeah, it was because I was with Levroni that I wanted to be on the mark with him, and so when I got back, I think my abs were like etched, like a little bit more.
It's like when I take my kids somewhere, and I want them to behave. I'll tell them something like he's the governor of the state, so you better behave.
Yeah, they want to like impress them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now they're too smart. They know you're just pulling the wool over their eyes. Anyway, all right, let me see if I forgot it. I'm sure I forgot something that I wanted to talk about, but all right, let's see.
The lobby is chaos, huh?
The lobby is the greatest networking place of all time in this show.
But so many people like, I trained with so and so who knows you from like '84, and
right.
I've known Dave since.
All right, I know I wanted to bring up. I wanted to talk about Victor Martinez because Victor Martinez obviously is having something. I don't know if it's a physical thing or if it's a mental thing. It was a weird statement he made. He said that to have physical and mental health is to be blessed, and something's going on with Victor. No one's saying this. He said his statement was, "I want to say thank you for everyone who has tried to reach out to me and wishing me well. To have physical and mental health is to be blessed. If we ever lose one or the other, we can only try to regain it. I am currently working on that. So with whatever energy I have to spare is respectfully being saved for my beautiful kids and family. Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. It hurts. So let's take a nap and recover." So what's your take on this? You knew Victor. You've worked with him before. Is this something mental that's going on, or what do you think is happening here?
I think we all have gaps in our lives where we face pressure and perceived pressure. That's usually what pressure is.
Right.
Perceived pressure, responsibilities, stress, and probably going through a difficult time. And
Victor's overcome a lot of stuff in his life.
Oh my gosh. Well, when you overcome a lot of things, it molds your character. But at the same time, when you overcome a lot of things, some people have more challenging lives than others. And
he tore that. Remember, he tore his patella tendon. That was a huge injury. His sister got murdered. He got put in jail for a green card he didn't have renewed. I mean, it was just some crazy stuff.
Big injuries.
He tore that bicep or something like that when he was arm wrestling that guy. Remember that guy broke his arm?
So, I mean, those are a collection of negative impacts that
sidetracked his career for sure.
That affect you, and sometimes you bury them and move on, but sometimes they're not fully buried.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true.
They manifest somewhere down the road. I hope he gets better, and I can't say enough good things about Victor Martinez. My relationship with him goes way back. Yeah. And you probably had him as best at the Night of Champions in 2003. Yeah. He's a remarkable, loyal person, and I mean, people love him. I do too. Speaking of amazing, looks like Levroni still got it, huh? Have you seen these pictures of one? Yeah, Levroni's been posting pictures. He still looks like he's eating the fish in 1 tablespoon of rice. Huh? He still got it. What is he, 60? He's got to be 60. He's got to be up there. He's 60. I think he just turned 60. Yeah, right around 60. Right? I think he's a couple years older than me. He's unbelievable, Kevin. Great genetics for sure. He's probably all natural here too, if I know Kevin. Sure. Yeah. Sure. People say, "Oh, he's on TRT." No. If he went on TRT, his arms would be 20 inches. Yeah, we'd say he's getting ready for the show. Exactly. Good to see Kevin's doing well. Kevin always calls me. We talk every once in a while. Ronnie Coleman, obviously,
that's probably the news of the week, I would say, because Ronnie coming out of that coma he was in for sepsis, he seems to be.
You know what?
He still looks a little out of it, though. You know.
I think he looks, for what he's been through, I think he looks remarkably healthy in the face.
Yeah. You know what the funny is? Ronnie's always got it. Yeah, he's always got a smile on his face because I think Ronnie takes these crazy things that happen to him as a challenge. You know how like he wanted to win the Olympia? That was a huge challenge. Like, so when shit happens like this, it's almost like, all right, now I got a reason to get tougher and to be more resilient and to give the message out to the people that you can't give up, because it's like another obstacle he's got to overcome, you know.
He's a survivalist.
Oh, 100%. And he doesn't care. He doesn't like look back.
He would definitely win that show, Survival.
Oh, yeah. If you put him on a desert island, he'd figure out a way. Think, man, I'm going fishing. He'd take his toothbrush and catch a couple fish, and he'd be good to go. So good to see Ronnie Coleman back in gear. We got a little update from Hadi Chopin at 12 weeks out. What's your take on that? Pull that up.
Looks full and looks round and looks lean, big lats.
Hadi hasn't done any shows this year. He obviously wants to win.
I would
the
just
Olympia
like
again.
To see only the quarter turn so I can check his symmetry.
Yeah, that's true. Milos might complain about the symmetry here. Yeah,
big lats, big lats.
He's such a big, short guy. You know what I mean? Because he's not tall by any means, but the guy is so wide.
Yeah,
for his height. He looks like a cartoon. I hate to say, and I'm not saying this is in a negative way. He reminds me of, when you watch The Lord of the Rings and they have the dwarfs in there that are all jacked up out of their mind. He's like a dwarf, but he's not that short, obviously. With that beard, he looks like he's like a little monster from another planet. And I think he might be the most dangerous guy in the lineup because no one's seen him. He's in Iran training like Dorian used to do when he would go back to England. And we see a couple of these quick updates, but in reality, we don't really see anything on him. I think he might be the most dangerous guy that we haven't seen. He hasn't competed, he's rested, and he's ready to go, and he really wants that Olympia title back. Will he get to Vegas? That's the question.
Yeah, he looks great there. Midsection looks very, very small.
You think he'll get a visa?
Yes.
You think he will because he's been here before?
Yeah, he's been here before. Yeah. And but 100% sure he'll get the visa.
I really hope he does because we want to see the best of the best in this Olympia, and I think this year happens to be a year where we could see a lineup that might rival anything we've ever seen before, which is great. Bad news that Angel Calderon will be out of the Olympia. I think he tore a tricep. Yeah, you just never know, and we'll send out some well wishes to him and some prayers for a speedy recovery. Hopefully we see him back in action next year. Well, Chris, I just wanted to say it was an absolute pleasure, spending the weekend with you. We got to actually not the weekend, the weekdays. Yeah,
well,
every day I feel like it's Saturday,
if
but it's
we
not.
weren't running home to work and kids.
Yeah,
we would have stayed a couple. I was shocked that you weren't staying like all the way through to Saturday.
You know what it is? I have my kids on. We're going on vacation next week, so I figured.
Where are you going?
We're going up to see my sister in Connecticut. So first time they're going on an airplane.
Oh,
so
you're gonna have to facilitate all the.
Yes.
Oh my God.
The logistics of it is a nightmare. But so
the bags and where to go.
Yeah. So I need Saturday and Sunday off to relax a little bit. Thank you guys for all the support, and congratulations, John Frashoni, John Hansen, all the winners this past weekend. It was great seeing all the fans too. I know Chris and I took a zillion pictures with people, and I really appreciate all the positive feedback people give. I can't tell you how many wives came up to me and said, "I know you. Your voice. I hear it in my kitchen every morning and every night." I said, "What did your husband watches our RX Muscle program?" And she's like, "That's it. You're the RX Muscle guys." So it's kind of nice that at least we know that everyone's listening.
Well, usually when I'm somewhere, Dave, people go like, "Where's Dave? Where's Dave? Where's Dave?" I didn't hear that once this weekend.
Yeah, but it's funny because most people play the podcast, but they don't really watch it. They're just listening to it. But everyone hears our voices, and they recognize the voices, and then they come to the show and they hear you and me. We're so loud in the lobby, right? And they're like, "We know those guys. Those guys do the podcast." So it's all good. Once again, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Jim Mannion, putting on a great show, and all the expediters. You guys do a phenomenal job here in Pittsburgh, and I can't wait to come back for the North American at the end of August. For now, we are out of time. Chris, as we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio,
The truth hurts.